What's up, and welcome back to another edition of Pro Pels Talk. We are talking Trey Murphy and why he's going to be an all-star next year. Let's get into the show presented to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of Boo Crew Media.
First took away. Yes, but this gets your money's worth.
Joined by Lito and Chaz. How y'all doing tonight, fellas?
Ain't in there, man.
I gave you a legit question there, Lito. I didn't go with the sprained ankle right off the bat.
No, you ain't go with trades off the bat. I'm good, man. Ankle getting right. You know what I'm saying? I think I'm retired though from basketball.
I think you've said that now about 20 times, and it never seems to go through. So let's get into the show. Let's talk about Trey Murphy. Lito, we'll start with you. I love this stat. I wanted to start with this. Trey Murphy became the youngest player in NBA history to shoot 40% from deep and 90% from the free throw line. We had talked all year about how you want to see more aggression from Trey Murphy. And when Zion and Brandon were out, we couldn't understand why he wasn't getting a lot of volume shots. Well, later there in the second half of the year, you started to see Trey Murphy almost become a 3-level scorer. You saw him obviously shoot well from deep multiple times. You then saw him pump fake, a couple dribble drives, either dunks, layups. And then you started seeing some pull-ups, 15 feet. You saw a couple crossovers. His handles are getting better. Can Trey Murphy, he made a leap this year. Can he make that next leap and be an all-star next year?
Man, let me say this. He has the talent to do it. Now, if everything comes together for him as far as like scheme-wise, rotation-wise, getting enough shots-wise, could he be an all-star? That's kind of, unfortunately, that's not really on Trey. I don't want to be doom and gloom though, but can I hit you with some numbers?
Yeah, if I can figure out why my microphone keeps going up and down, but yes,
it's all good. Numbers. Nah, you said we were talking about Trey. I got excited. I like that. That's like one of the bright spots. Considering he didn't have the greatest starts of the season, and that not apparently, but that was coaching wise because Willie said they had to find a way to get him more shots, right? But that's all good. Let's be real positive, right? So I like to call him TM3. TM3 this season, right? 14 and a half points per game. Now, if you go on the per 36, that's 16.9, right? He had 3.6 rebounds. That's an area of I'd like to see the growth from last year because I think it was like 2 something, but that's an area of growth. Like he has to be at least 5-6 rebounds a game. He's 1.4 assists a game, which he don't handle the ball enough for him to create offense for anybody else. But later in the season, you did see the creation off the dribble. He got into the lane. He started making some shovel passes to the bigs. He was phenomenal. Here's the thing though. True shooting percentage, he's shooting 65%. He shoots 40% from 3. And to put that in perspective, that's 202 made threes and 497 attempted, right? To put that in perspective, it's, I want to say 6 attempts a game. I personally want him at least 10. I want to see him shoot at least 9 to 10 threes a game.
Do you think that's realistic?
I do.
You do?
I do, and I'm gonna tell you why. Hold on. I'm gonna tell you why. All right. So hold on. You touched on the 40 90 season, but technically it was 50, 45, and 94. If you want to be specific, right? Yeah. All right. Here's the thing for me, which is why I say like I am optimistic going into this season. Last year he had 1 30-point game. This year he had 5.
Damn, he had 5 30-point games this year?
5 30-point games. Sacramento, Portland, the Clippers, Memphis, and New York.
If I'm not mistaken, is that all second half? Or was that
all second half? All second half. And here's so to answer your question, right? Justin, in the playing game, which he only had 1 game, but in the playing game, he averaged 44 minutes. He put up 21 points. He shot 40 from 3, and he was 100% from the free throw line. Yeah. So throughout the year, right, he only had 10 shots a game. That's throughout the whole year. From after All-Star break, I want to say he averaged 6 threes a game. before All-Star break, he was only averaging 2 free throws a game. But in a play-in, he took 3, which is why I said I want at least 10 3-point attempts, because he took 10 threes in the playing game. And in a playing game by itself, he shot 5 free throws. So you see the end of the season progression from him right there.
Yeah. And to your point, Lito, I want to see more free throw attempts too, because he's one of the best free throw shooters in the league. And Chaz, one thing I love about Trey Murphy is if you just take over the last 2 years he's been in the league, he's played in some big games. I mean, I know he didn't get in the playoffs this year, but he seems to love the bright lights. Like I remember that Lakers game last year, right? When we needed it at home, I think he went off. He had that poster against Wendy and Gabriel. He was a rookie. He had a couple big threes against the Lakers. Then you go fast forward to the playing game against the Clippers. He hit those threes. Fast forward to the second half of the year, he just kept hitting threes. And he was great against the Thunder. What do you like about him? And you know, when big moments, big games, he seems to raise his game.
I think if I have to be honest, the thing I like the most about Trey is I think he has the ability to receive tough criticism. I know for myself, especially, I was worried about Trey first half of the season. I was really worried. And I think I was clearly a fan of the show. Saw the show, he took those comments in stride, and you saw a totally different player in the second half of the season. And when he was given that opportunity, started attacking more off the dribble. Handle has improved. I would like to see a little more rebounding from him, because I know he's capable of doing. He was a really strong rebounder last year. Like to see him made more of a focal point of the offense. I think Trey has the second highest ceiling on this team. Honestly, I'm going to come out and say that I think Trey has a perennial all-star talent, perennial all-star talent ceiling if it all comes together. If if his ability is maximized. It's going to be difficult for me to say that he could potentially be all-star next year, given I think he'll be coming off the bench next year. With CJ, and Zion's return, unless someone is moved, who knows, right? See Zion Brand with their return. I don't see them starting over. I just don't see Trey starting over Herb. Just both excellent players, but you need that defense out there, and that's the only thing I worry about with this roster makeup is as it pertains to Trey is maximizing his skill set. Seeing him get downhill, can finish above the rim. Really modern basketball player, plays a 2023 and beyond brand of basketball. And you need that. You need that 3-pointer shot. And the reason he gets to the free throw line because he attacks, and he attacks with bad intentions.
Yeah,
he
really does.
Yeah, he attacks with bad intentions. So, put on a little more muscle, become a better defender, rebound at a higher clip, and I think sky's the limit for him.
Chaz, you bring up an incredible point. I'm gonna go to Lito, then I'm gonna get Chaz's answer. Lito, we saw what Trey did off the bench. I don't have the stats in front of me. So he did off the bench. Then when you saw him start, his numbers progressed high. Then the whole Josh Richardson thing happened. He went back to the bench, struggled. Then he was in the starting lineup the rest of the way, went off. Last 10 games of the year, 22 points, 2.5 rebounds, 2 steals in his last 10 games. I don't know if he's shooting from deep, but probably over 40-something%. But when I get my point being, Lito, if he's moved back to the bench and as a player, does that mess up with your mindset? It seems with Trey, it seems like it messes up with his mindset, his groove, his rhythm a little bit. So that's why I was kind of a little bit shocked, because I didn't think about it, Chaz. He might be moved to the bench again, and I don't think you can. So do you think that he can actually come off the bench, Lito, or is he better starting, in the starting 5?
Man, that's a tough question. And to answer your question, I think it kind of depends on the player's mindset. I think Trey thinks that he's a starter, which I don't necessarily think he's wrong there. I think he is a starter. I think based on, you start Herb for defensive purposes because of who you have in the starting lineup, covers a lot of ground. He's basically the free safety. Here's my thing though. If Herb is going to shoot 36, 30, I think he shot 41% throughout the end of the season.
And he ended up at 33% of the year, by the way.
if he's going to shoot mid to high 30s, I don't know if you could just take him out the game like that, because he's playing both sides of the court. But But if I'm Trey, my mindset is Trey, we call him a shooter. Everybody says he's a great shooter. He a scorer. He a bucket getter, right? He's a guy who can score uh from three. But like I said, his true shooting percentage is 65%. So that means he's effective from twos also. And he could get to the cup. I mean, he'll put your center on a highlight tape or your guard, whoever's on him. I think that regardless if Trey starts or not, his mindset should just be, I'm gonna just be the best Trey Murphy that I can be. And I think that that'll just take him further than, because I mean, really and truthfully, starting or coming off the bench, it don't matter, because at the end of the game, he gonna be in those positions.
No, but Lito, I completely agree with you, but he's still young, he's
Right.
23 years old. I still think it might mess up with his mental, and just overthinking. And you saw that, Chaz, especially in his rookie year and the beginning of this year. If Trey was messing up, missed defensive rotation, missed the box out, bad shot, etc., you saw him get pulled from the game, and that just kills confidence in any player, any level, any sport, anything you do.
Right.
I feel like Willie Green's leash got a little bit longer as the season went on, but do you think now, Chaz, he's now proven to hey, you can't take me out for simple mistakes now? Or do you think that's going to happen this year? Because you did see that last year.
Yeah, truthfully, man, I thought he proved it last year going into this year. I thought that he should have a longer leash. But I think, truthfully, I think it's going to have to be a Draymond Iguodala type situation where it's like, look, CJ, your skill set is best suited off the bench. Trey, at this point in his career, he's not really a self-creator just yet. So he would benefit greatly from
Zion.
Offense collapsing on Zion or Brandon, and he would benefit greatly. I don't think 15, 16 points are out of the question for a trade next year, and it's a decision that we kind of know it would take a lot of maturity across the board for that to happen. I think you will see Trey as a sixth man this year. I don't like it. I think CJ is, the perfect candidate for sixth man, but you can't bench CJ after what he just did. So it's like, it's tough.
Yeah, and you make another great point. Trey and Zion together, and especially Trey, Zion, and Brandon together. That only just creates more opportunity for Trey. And we saw Brandon, Lito. I mean, you want to talk about chemistry. Brandon knew where Trey Murphy was at all times on the court. And I can't tell you how many times he saw skip passes, no look passes to the corner, dribble drive, handoff, whether it be rubs, etc. Brandon and Trey seem to have a really, really good connection. And I don't know how you bench him, Jazz and Lito. You're right. There's an odd man out here, but I don't know how you bench Herb either. But I guess to talk more about Trey, Lito, what's one thing he does have to improve this year? I don't want you to say rebounding, but because we all know he has to improve in that aspect of his game. But what would you like to see improvement from Trey Murphy in year 3?
I know you don't want me to say rebounding.
What are you gonna say, rebounding?
I'm gonna say rebounding.
That's fair.
I'm gonna say rebounding, but I'm gonna say rebounding and defense as a whole. A lot of times, can't necessarily say this is all him, because if I was here, he'd say the scheme changed every time a different player entered the game. So even defensively, you don't know if you're necessarily doing the same things besides drop coverage. That seemed to be the only constant for us as far as defense. But defense and rebounding, those need to be that needs to be, if he wants to be an all-star, that's something that he has to continue to get better at, because he's never going to be an all-star being 6'9", averaging 2 rebounds a game. The other thing for me is, I just want to say this, we were talking about who comes off the bench, who doesn't come off the bench, and I feel like as long as how do I want to say this? I think Trey Murphy now believes. I think he thought he was good, but now I know he believes he's good. And I think as long as he carries that mindset, like I keep saying, it don't matter where he coming in or where he comes in the game at. Like he could potentially be the sixth man of the year if he's not an all-star next year, right? He could be most improved next year. It really just, man, the sky is the limit for Trey. Trey can be whatever Trey wants to be.
Yeah, good point, Chaz. What do you want to see Trey improve on?
Of course, defensively, but I really totally agree with Lito. What Lito said. I think Trey, my ideal scenario for Trey is the closing five on this team. You know what I'm saying? Because can you imagine the offense with Trey, CJ, Brandon, Zion, and maybe, I don't know, Doug McDermott or even Herb? Like, that would be an incredible five to me if Trey could close at the five. But offensively, I think he needs to continue to improve his handle, work on finishing around the rim. Just, he would really do well to add a little more touch around the rim aside from dunking. I think he struggled with like layups and lay-ins and things of that nature. I think he gets a little confused in the air. Maybe, if he can't dunk it, I'm not sure he really knows what to do with the ball in the air. But handles, and you saw his handle improve a little bit throughout the year. Had a couple nice crossovers. But I would really, him being such a gifted athlete, I think if he can improve that handle with his quick step and ability to finish above defenders, I think he would really, really be in the conversation for being an all-star just based on that alone.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to say, I forgot to say this point. I think that what Chaz just said is very important. And just to add on to that, I like to say that I want him to, when he sees a mismatch in front of him, to kind of deviate from whatever the offensive game plan is at that point and attack the mismatch.
He's crossed over a couple in the second half. He had like a nasty little crossover. He kind of came in with there in the second half. One thing I do want to see improvement on, and he showed some flashes of it, and I think it's very important when you play with guys like Zion and Brandon, is movement off ball when we're driving strong here instead of Trey being on the wing, because all eyes are on Brandon, all eyes are on Zion. You need to go from wing to corner or corner to wing and lifting. And to my point, Lito, when I was saying earlier, you would see Brandon driving hard, and Trey would be in the corner, and then he'd lift to the wing, and Brandon would hit him on the wing, or either wing to corner and hit him in the corner. So I'd like to see a little bit of improvement in that, but I think the clear answer is rebounding, because when you get Trey rebounding and going in transition, I think, Lito, I forget who it was against, but you saw it where you're just like, fuck it, right? Where he grabbed it, pulled up from like 30 feet and just drained it. Like, that's unguardable. It's Steph Curry,
right. And the other thing too for me is I think Trey could be a better defender all around. Like he could. There's no reason he shouldn't average a block and a half a game as a weak side defender.
Yeah. His athleticism and length is so good. But Chaz makes another just great point. Could you imagine a lineup to where Trey adds muscle and he's your five? And I'm not saying, and I want to make something clear. There's a lot of people, a lot of pushback. We're like, well, who's going to guard Jokic? Who's going to guard Embiid? Who's going to guard, nobody in this world is guarding those guys. Like, so it doesn't matter. Like, what matters is that you are now the mismatch. Like, how are they going to guard us is kind of the question. And when Trey Murphy's the five or Herb Jones is the five, and I didn't think it was talked about enough against the Timberwolves. I thought Herb Jones did a hell of a job on Cat. Yeah, we just couldn't close the game, and I think that that small ball five is something that hopefully Willie Green and staff implement more next year. We'll get to wrap. Yeah, go ahead.
I think when people hear Trey Murphy at the five or Herb at the five, they think, like you said, who's going to guard Embiid or Jokic or whoever. But I think the thing is, like, that's not a set you run in the whole game. It's something to get momentum. You get in it and you get out of it. Unless you have somebody like a Draymond Green who can, and even he couldn't guard those guys. So, I think at the same time, right, can Jokic guard Trey Murphy on the other end? Because you space him out and you mismatch hunt and you use your advantages at that point.
Lito, who do you think's easier to guard, a big or a guard? In my opinion, it's a big. I think it's easier to guard a big than a quick guard, shifty guard.
It depends on the big though, because like
Yeah, if he's overpowered, but there are ways where you can dig it out. You can double from the post and then X out and things like that.
But things like Embiid, right? You double him top of the key, or you double him free throw line extended. He's just shooting over three people. Like certain people, that's why I said
let's use Sabonis. Let's use Embiid's just like otherworldly MVP. Let's use Sabonis for instance, right? Like Sabonis is a good player.
It's so easy. I'm just taking away his left hand. He's making he's spinning back right. Sure. Like you're gonna have to. And from what I saw in that matchup, like literally, like you force him to take that mid-range jumper that he turns into a push shot, and he feels uncomfortable. So yeah, it would be harder to trap a guard, especially somebody who's handling the ball, can get to A to B, make a connective.
Oh, Lito went muted on us, but Chaz, go ahead, answer that.
Sorry, my bad.
Oh no, you finished, Lito.
Oh, so yeah, I mean, yeah, I would say it's probably easier to double or guard a big, but it depends who that big is.
Fair.
I think, man, 2023, it's hard to guard on the perimeter. Like it's extremely
especially in the NBA.
Yeah,
three like, in the space and
in the NBA right now, it could be a guy you never heard of giving you 40 points. Like there's no excuse not to like crack 40.
I mean,
like,
I know Cam Thomas because of LSU,
right?
So I follow him a long time. But like Cam Thomas, how many 40-point games did he have? Like 4?
Like 3 in a row, something crazy like that, 3-4 in a row. Like I'm telling you, like Isaiah Thomas comes back into the league, gets his groove back. Isaiah Thomas is probably putting up a couple 40-point games in 2023 just because how difficult it is to guard guys, especially.
Right. And Chaz, I don't mean to cut you off, but they've become very crafty with creating fouls, creating contact. Like that's hard to guard. Go ahead.
To me, that's playing the game the right way. To me, like, look, it's one thing to be, integrous and you wanna attack. You're not crying to the refs and doing that stuff. Hey, that's great. That's great. You go ahead when you're at home during this time of year, you go ahead and put that in your integrity jar, because that's the only place you'll be able to store it. No one cares about that. You got to get to the line. And I think with Trey develops that dribble, that first step. He's able to rise above guys and finish violently. I think he'll get those calls. He can get to the line, knock them down. And again, rebounding. A guy like that, nice, quick first step. First jump. Not really afraid of contact on offense. I think he needs to initiate more contact defensively, but offensively, not really afraid of contact. I think the sky's the limit. I think in the ideal world, Trey is your closing 5. In the ideal world, at 6, he calls himself 6'10". At 6'10", that's your closing 5, and hopefully we get to see it soon.
And it's sad. We'll wrap it up with this, Lito, and then we'll get Chad's thoughts. But what's sad is, I feel like in today's game, what's rewarded is flopping and acting and things like that. We don't really have a guy on that. I feel like Trey, if he start, with the head or you rip through things like that, I feel like he has to add that to his game, because once again, he's a 93% free throw shooter. Those don't just come around, right? That's elite free throw shooting. So when you get 8 to 10 points from the line every night, like Steph Curry does, like Trae Young, like Fox, like all these guys, Brunson, those are 10 free points. And when you have a elite free throw shooter in Trey Murphy, is he have to start implementing that into his game as well? Just more of the flopping, more of the acting, more of the rip throwing, whatever you want to say.
I mean, unfortunately, I guess. Like
I know you hate, because I know you hate it too, and I hate it too. It's rewarding.
I'm not a fan of it, but if that's the only way to get a call, unfortunately, then sure. I do think I got 2 things. I think that Trey Murphy, for whatever reason, not for whatever reason, because this is basketball. Like regardless if you're a shooter or whatever position you play, once you see the ball go through the rim, like you are more keen to make your next shot, or more confident, I guess, to take the next shot. Right? I want to see Trey maybe not necessarily start at the 3, maybe get a layup, right? Maybe take it to the rim or shoot the midi, and because that's a layup for him too, and then work inside out. Also, if I'm Trey, again, I know he doesn't control the offense or how his role is going to be, but if I'm Trey, I'm watching 2017 to 2021 Klay Thompson highlight tapes, and he should literally just mirror that, moving off the ball, not stopping. When you get a smaller player on you, drive the ball hard to the free throw line and just shoot the elbow jumper over everybody. There's no way they can block. And Clay does a good job of bodying and fading away. Trey's bigger than Clay, right? So like that's not that shouldn't even be an issue for him, because a lot of times like Trey got the ball to the paint, but he didn't necessarily like feel comfortable taking a shot over him, or maybe he didn't have it wasn't muscle memory enough to where his feet were set after he made his move, so he kicked it back out. I mean, it's a lot of things. You feel like you're about to travel. It's 3 seconds in the lane, right? So like, but I want him to work on, making that move, hitting him with that shoulder, and then just rising over him.
Yeah, Chaz, go ahead.
I know it's. I feel like it's a cold game, but it's the only game the man left us to play. The game is a game. Look, you wanna be the nicest guy at home who did everything. You filed your taxes the right way. You didn't lie about nothing, or you want to be rich. So it's like it's a lot of flopping. One of the top. Some of the top floppers, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, Luka's a perfect example.
Yeah, Luka's one of those guys who, he's not in the playoffs this year, but last year, Western Conference Finals guy. Aside from him, Floppy's a great player. Shea, but just bust our ass. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He's a king flopper.
It's a difference maker, man. It's a free throw disparity is a difference maker. Free throws and 3-pointers and rebounds.
And sometimes you gotta, you can't be this super righteous guy, like JV was probably one of the only players on our team that I used to see do swing throughs and try to, the Pelicans will be in the bonus with 7 minutes left and won't go back to the free throw line. Just because like, dude, it's like, what are we doing here? You need that next evolution from a guy like Trey and the other young guys, because they're superb athletes. So them taking advantage of that, taking advantage of how the game is officiated now, I think that would help the team tremendously in the long run.
And man, you heard Brandon at the end of the year after the OKC games, I play their game the right way. I don't flop. I don't do any of that stuff. And you applaud that and you love it because that's what you want to see. Right. But at the end of the day, you lost because you didn't flop. You didn't fall down. You didn't act. And it's just it's really a problem in the NBA and as a whole, just through college, high school, etc. But no, that was good. We'll wrap it up here. Presented by Company Very located at 4600 Perrette Street. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We'd love to hear your thoughts on if Trey Murphy will be an all-star next year. We will see y'all on Sunday night.